3 straight victories here and could be a nice dirt pedigree by Dubawi, who I feel like is very versatile. And on the bottom side, you have Bernardini. This horse, who's run well on synthetic before, could be the horse to play.
I got to throw one other horse out there.
No, you're not allowed.
Kiefer from the UAE. Couple of losses in the past 2 races, but dynamics have worked against this one. I think if you can get out into the clear, no bargain because you're down to the inside from the break, I think this horse has a big chance in here.
Oh, you know, Tom hated the draw. I told him I would say that if you talked about this horse. He didn't like the draw. And this horse is a Southern Hemisphere horse, so he's technically 4 years old. Sometimes that could be a big deal, but looking at him from a physical standpoint, he is not a big, imposing specimen at all. He's actually rather feminine looking, so I don't think he has as big of advantage as you would think from a physical standpoint.
So the top 2 horses bred in Brazil and Argentina respectively. Southern Hemisphere means the breeding season is therefore 6 months later. As such, 6 months older, so they have to concede a weight allowance to the Northern Hemisphere horses, and it's a lot as well.
10 pounds.
Yeah, that's a lot.
We talk a little bit about the pace situation. Noble Truth is a free-running type early. Perhaps he's involved also.
Saudi Derby of 2022. Here's John.
Set now, 1,600 meters here for the Saudi Derby, and away they go. Oscula jumped fair enough. Slowest away was Kiefer, and also a bit slow to get going was Island Falcon up on the wide outside of the field. But 3 early pacemakers. They include the black jacket of I Am Magic, who is now being joined by Consigliere, and that man Lemaire trying to get close to the front as well. But Pinehurst for the States has just come through at the end of the first quarter of a mile to lead the field. Jacinda eases back into 4th place. Then the red cap of Godolphin, carried by Sovereign Prince, just moving a little bit closer now. Noble Truth's in mid-division. The pace looks hot here. Oscula already hard under the pump. Getting plenty of kickback there. The Wizard of Eye racing towards the inside. Mishriff's colours carried here by Al Nada on the wide outside, and is breezing nicely into contention as well, and has moved ahead of Al Mutana, who heads the rest. Sekifu's got an awful lot of work to do, and they look like 2 separate races here with these pacemakers led by Pinehurst bursting clear. So Pinehurst, I Am Magic, Consigliere and Sovereign Prince up on the outside. Al Nada's into 5th place, and then comes the Wizard of Eye, who is still staying on. Kiefer comes next. We'll watch for those closes. If they've gone too hard, they may play a part. Closing stages then, straining for home. Pinehurst on the inside rail here, has all sorts of challenges. Consigliere in the middle, on the outside Sovereign Prince. Then we've got Al Nada still staying on. Sekifu staying on strongly as well. Pinehurst so gutsy, just out in front. 100 meters left to last home. Sekifu is the one finishing very hard on the outside. Pinehurst with Sekifu a neck away. Pinehurst lasted home to win it for the United States and Bob Baffert. Sekifu was 2nd. In 3rd place there was Consigliere. So a 2-3 there for the Japanese horses this time around, and they were followed home. A terrific run by Al Nada on the wide outside of them. They were followed further back by Sovereign Prince. The Wizard of Eye ran an absolute stormer just in behind them. He got loads of kickback on his way round. Also well beaten in behind them was Island Falcon. Noble Truth never really showed. They're the front 5. Pinehurst in front there from Sekifu, Consigliere, Al Nada, and then Sovereign Prince. A gap then to Kiefer, who was 5 lengths further back. The Wizard of Eye has just held Island Falcon for the next positions, and the rest coming home at wide intervals. Pinehurst then for Bob Baffert, and Flavian Pratt has really proved to be so courageous and gutsy. Interesting future ahead. Sekifu's rider not quite getting there this time, Christian Demuro, but he finished very hard up on the outside, and Consigliere was there throughout. There he is, our winner, Pinehurst. What a fantastically brave display that was by him. A really super win. So we've had 3 wins tonight so far for Japan. We've had 1 for France. And now the United States, they strike here with Pinehurst.
Tough as old boots, this young racehorse. Limited on experience, but certainly unlimited in toughness. Wow. That was some performance from Flavian Pratt's Mount Pinehurst. for Bob Baffert. We wondered, didn't we, just how good he was, just whether he had enough in his armory to win a race like this, and I think the answer was pretty conclusive.
I think what it really came down to was just Bob Baffert and his conditioning. He gets horses so ready to go. You could see that horse wasn't extending anymore. He wasn't kicking into another gear and the other horses were catching him, but he had built up an early advantage. He went very easy early on, and Baffert had him ready to go to finish.
Yeah, a lot of the credit out here, the preparation of this horse, goes to Baffert's longtime assistant Jimmy Barnes, who's been looking after this horse, and Country Grammar seen being congratulated there by Prince Bandar.
And look, this is the best horse, or the best race this horse has ever run before. And you had some stiff competition in here. We saw the Japanese come run 2-3 in this spot. Looked like they were almost going to get the job done from well off the pace on the far outside with Sekifu, but Pinehurst kept finding. Look, I was dubious about his ability to get the distance. I still don't know that I think he's going to be a classic type, but he can be very, very useful. Also worth noting, he was out there on the pace, and I think that is the biggest thing for this horse at this point in his career. You just got to be involved from jump.
I mean, it would be sensible, given all the circumstances we've discussed, to make hay while the sun shines. I wonder if the UAE Derby might be next on the agenda. Flavian Pratt, who has been riding Grade 1 winner after Grade 1 winner, has another valuable prize here, and he's alongside Tom.
Yeah, another valuable prize for you, Flavian. Well done. That went exactly to plan, I take it.
Thank you. Yeah, the horse broke well and he got me into the race. I was cruising all the way around. And yeah, when it was time to make a move, he responded really well.
How worried were you about getting the lead or not?
It was not really about getting the lead, but just to get a clean break and be in a race. And that was the case today, so it was good.
And he was tough late, right? He just kept finding.
Yeah, absolutely. He was actually kind of waiting on horses, and every time a horse came with him, he digged in.
Well done, Flavian.
Thank you very much.
Flavian Pratt. Michelle?
I mean, Flavian Pratt is our leading rider in Southern California. He wins 3, 4, 5 races a day. He has a long-time relationship with Bob Baffert, and he rides his horses with a lot of trust and a lot of faith, and I think he delivers. He's a very strong rider. He's a very smart and sensible rider, and he's an unbelievable finisher, and I think you saw that here. He switched sticks 2 or 3 times down the lane. He does it so effortlessly and so convincingly. I think he really gets a lot out of his mount, and I think this horse probably needed it today, but epic ride, great job. Congratulations to our good friend B Squared.
Be very curious to see where they go next with this horse. You had mentioned the UAE Derby.
To the turf?
Well, I know Michelle wants to see that, and it's entirely possible it'll happen at some point. I can't help but think he's 3 for 4 going one turn, and his only loss was a second-place finish. Maybe you look at a race like the Pate Mile on the Kentucky Derby undercard, so maybe he is pointing to the first Saturday in May, but I could see a one-turn mile working to his advantage.
Pinehurst it is, victory for the United States, and I think worth just considering the fairly lamentable showing of the European contenders there, and whether because Mishrif has performed so creditably on this surface, we've rather been lulled into a false sense of security that, you know, the dirt plays slightly differently and is just fine for horses who would normally do well on turf, whether in fact it's still dirt. And Americans are always going to have an inbuilt advantage.
I mean, maybe not always an inbuilt advantage. You just think that they do because the surface is familiar, but it doesn't mean there's not horses that can't translate their form. I mean, obviously, Mishrif is one. We've seen Thunder Snow run really well on the main track. There have been a significant amount of horses that have been able to successfully make the transition. We just don't know.
Right, let's hear from the man who's been supervising the preparation of this horse. Jimmy Barnes is with Tom.
He is indeed, yeah. Jimmy's alongside me. He's just debriefing with Liz Price. Now, Liz was very helpful to us earlier, so I'm not going to be mean to her at all. Liz, you're very kind. Thank you. Hey, Jimmy, well done. What was your expectation with this horse coming here today?
This was our expectations. You know, we came over here with a serious horse, and you know, he just needed to handle everything well, and he did. He handled the ship over, the paddock, the vanning over for the race, and the gate well, and left the gate running. So couldn't be happier.
Did you know once he hit the front and was in the front in the straight, he'd stay there?
Well, you know, here you never know. You know, it's a closer's track, and luckily he had enough heart and stamina to withhold off the Japanese.
As far as you're concerned, as the assistant trainer, UAE Derby a real possibility?
You know, they're all thinking about it, and the plans were to probably go forward that way, as long as everything comes out of the race well.
Jimmy, hey, well done. Good luck later on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jimmy Barnes, who's been trusty lieutenant to Bob Baffert for so long. Flavien Prat now seems to have developed this partnership, and these big race mounts seem his for the taking at the moment.
Flavien Prat has had an excellent last couple of years, including a Kentucky Derby win, a Queen's Plate win.